Take one.
Hi, 5-1 and 5-2. We're back with another story. So we chose for you this time Snoring Beauty by Bruce Hale and illustrated by Howard Fine. I even love the cover of this book. Look at Snoring Beauty's beautiful lips. And here we go. Long, long ago, about 602 years ago last Friday, at 7 p.m., Fairy Standard Time to be exact, the childless King Gluteus and his wife, Queen Esophagus, got lucky at last. "A baby girl," Queen Esophagus cried. "I'll eat to that," said King Gluteus. For the rest of us peasants and milkmaids and frogs, it was business as usual. Yada yada, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. The king and the queen threw a big windig for their daughter's christening. They invited every fairy from far and wide, but wouldn't you know it, they left one out. This really cranky fairy named Bebo, who was off hosting a garlic festival. On christening day, the baby girl was named Princess Drachmina Lofresca Malvolio Margarine. Poor little tadpole. She smiled and cooed anyways. I don't know if anybody is going to remember her name. Maybe the first part of it. Lovely though. The dining hall bulged with lords and ladies. And up at the main table with the king and queen sat 7 of the funkiest fairies you'd ever seen. Hexus and Blexus, Nostraline and Umpudine, Phlebidus and Tintinitis, and Fred, who wasn't really a fairy, but no one had the heart to tell him. Just as they began a round of rude fairy songs, the king clapped his hands. "Time to bless the baby." "Eh?" said Tintinitis, who was half deaf. "Slime with flesh and gravy? No thanks, I'll be back in a twinkle." And she waddled off. One by one, fairies shuffled past to bless Princess Drachmina Lofresca Malvolio Margarine, Marge for short. Now we've got it, there you go. I'm gonna call her Marge. "She will be the most beauteous maiden in the land," said Hexus. "She will be the wittiest," said Blexus. And on and on and on. Best dancer, blah, blah, blah. Best singer, blah, blah, blah. Nicest penmanship, yada, yada, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. Until, bam! The door blew open. There stood Bebo the fairy. She looked like trouble and she smelled like garlic. "So sorry I'm late," she snarled sweetly. "The carrier pigeon must have eaten my invitation." She struck her big bazoo into the crib and barked, "When this babe turns 16, she will be run over by a pie wagon and die." "What?" Tintinitis returned just at that moment. "Eh, what's that?" She said, "She'll turn into a dragon and fly?" "Die," snapped Bebo. "Spy?" asked Tintinitis. "Die," shouted the garlicky one. Now, we don't usually talk about dying in storybooks, right? But anyways, "Oh my," said Tintinitis. "What a grumble and a growl," Bebo blasted off. Tintinitis turned to King Gluteus and Queen Esophagus. She could not undo Bebo's gift, but she could bamboozle it. "My blessing is that instead of turning into a dead dragon," but Bebo said the king began, "your daughter will become a sleeping dragon." Tintinitis continued, "And one day she'll be awakened by, what's a princess usually awakened by? A prince?" "Right, a princess," said the queen hopefully. A quince, said the fairy. Good idea. And foof, she was gone. First thing the next day, King Gluteus banned all pie wagons from the kingdom. In fact, he banned all pies, even mud pies. That should stop the curse, said the king. Let them eat cake, sang Queen Esophagus. Years hopped along like a toad with arthritis. Princess Marge blossomed and grew, and as she grew, she became kind and beautiful, sweet and clever. As the fairies promised, Marge could sing like a nightingale, dance like the sunlight on the water, sew a wedding dress blindfolded, make a chocolate cake from dirt and rocks, build a house in a single day, yada yada, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. She was pretty skilled and talented. The fairies forgot just one thing. She was too perfect. Nobody wanted to play with a girl who could do everything twice as well as they could. Princess Marge was lonely. The next day, the princess turned 16. An old woman in a wagon rolled up to the castle. "Let me in," she pleaded. "I bring a yummy, yummy treat for the princess." The young guard spied a wagon load of pastries round as wheels. A sweet smell made his belly rumble. It had been years since he had pies, 'cause no more pie wagons. Oh, after so many years, he didn't know a pie from a pollywog. The guard opened the gates. The wagon trundled inside, and at that very moment, what are the odds, I ask you? Marge was crossing the road to the cake shop. The street was steep, the wagon wobbled, and before you knew it, the pie wagon swerved and crunched over her foot. "Yow!" cried Princess Marge, and just as Tintinnitus foretold, Alabam! Marge turned into a dragon, and Alabeep! She fell deeply, deeply asleep. Now, legend says that the whole castle conked out too. Everybody had a big nap. Yeah, right. Here's what really happened. The sleeping dragon princess began to snore. And besides being the fanciest dancer and the best cake baker in the kingdom, Princess Marge was naturally the loudest snoring dragon. Did everyone rush to congratulate Marge on her perfect snores? They did not. No one comforted her enchanted sleep. The dragon princess dreamed very lonely dreams. Days passed and no one could sleep with the racket and ruckus. Those with carriages visited far-off kingdoms. Those without wore earplugs and shouted. The king did what kings always do. He made a proclamation. So his proclamation was, King Gluteus wants you to break the curse and awaken his sleeping daughter with a quince. Not a prince, a quince. Use of quince to be determined by applicant. The reward is half the kingdom, the princess's hand in marriage, and a set of elf-made garden furniture. That sounds fabulous. Employees of the castle are not eligible. If the princess awakens but remains a dragon, tough luck. You'll still have to marry her. Offer not valid in the kingdom of Smorg, Spiffle, and Quog. Void, where prohibited. Moving along, back to Snoring Beauty, men came to test their luck. With brass and bluster and bright ideas, they tried to awaken the dragon princess. One spooned quince curry between her lips. Marge snored on. One tickled her with the leaves of a quince tree. She was a really good snorer. One pelted her with ripe quinces. That's quite rude. Close, but no cigar. Almost worked, but she just snored on and on and on and on. Months passed. Suitors came and suitors went. They sang quince songs and baked quince pies. They told quince jokes and sighed quince sighs. They built a quince alarm clock that squirted jam and jelly. They made a quince-filled rubber ball to bounce upon her belly. But nothing worked. Yada, yada, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. Marge snored on. Then one day, a dusty young man clip-clopped into town. "What's that awful noise?" he asked a milkmaid. "What?" she shouted. "I can't hear you. I'm wearing earplugs." She took them out. "I said, what's that noise?" bellowed the man. "No need to shout," said the milkmaid, and she told him Marge's sad, sad story. The man studied the dragon princess. She was pretty cute for a dragon. He timed her snores. He leaned into the blast, ears ringing. His hair blew back, but he puckered up. Look at her lips. Then, smack! Blink! Those dragon eyes popped open and yada yada, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. Marge's scales melted, her tail shriveled, and she shrank back into a human girl again. "Are you a wizard?" she asked the man. "Golly, no, I'm just a prince," he said. Prince Quince, to be exact. Yeah. Well, the king kept his word, and in 2 shakes of a frog's flipper, the prince and princess got hitched. This time, all the fairies in the land were invited. The kingdom whooped it up with the hey noni noni and ha cha cha. "Do you love me?" asked the princess. "With all my heart," said the prince. "Even though I'm the best at everything?" Prince Quince smiled. "Honey, nobody's perfect." At last, the newlyweds tiptoed off to their chambers, where they whispered sweet nothings and drifted off to sleep. Later that night, something awakened the prince. Prince Quince sighed. He kissed his wife's cheek, stuffed some earplugs into his ears, and rolled over. And despite the truly royal ruckus of it all, they lived happily and noisily ever after. And that's the story of Snoring Beauty.